Arcadian Vanguard presents The Wrestling News, and your daily wrestling newscast for Friday, December 27th, 2024. Good morning, I'm Mike Sempervive. We begin today with results from last night at Madison Square Garden for what is traditionally WWE's biggest house show of the year. In the main event, Gunther defeated Damian Priest in a steel cage match to retain his World Heavyweight title. Both Ludwig Kaiser and Dominic Mysterio provided distractions to help Gunther win. This was the first steel cage world title match at the Garden in 13 years. After the match, Priest was attacked by Gunther, Kaiser, and Mysterio until CM Punk ran out to make the save and close the show. Earlier in the evening, Punk defeated Kaiser in a one-on-one match. Mysterio was also in action, losing to Seth Rollins. In other title matches, Liv Morgan retained the World Women's title against Io Sky, and Braun Breaker defeated Sami Zayn in a best-of-3 falls match to retain the Intercontinental title. In other results, the Wyatt Six beat the Final Testament, Xavier Woods pinned Otis, and LA Knight topped Santos Escobar in the opener. In ratings news, the Christmas Collision episode of AEW Collision drew the show's largest audience of 2024, according to Mike Johnson, bringing in 635,000 viewers to TNT on Saturday night. That well more than doubles the audience of 246,000 for the previous weekend's episode, which was running against Saturday night's main event. The rating in the 18 to 49-year-old demographic was a .20, which was also way up from the previous week's rating of .08. Monday Night Raw drew an audience of 1.453 million to USA Network this week, according to WrestleNomics. That's down from last week's viewership of 1.522 million. The rating in the 18 to 49-year-old demo was a .42, also down from last week's rating of .48. Ring of Honor streamed last night on Honor Club, featuring matches taped on Saturday and Sunday at the Hammerstein Ballroom in New York City. In the main event, MXM Collection defeated Miracle Generation. Commander defended his newly won ROH World Television Championship, turning back the challenge of Johnny TV. Homicide had his first Ring of Honor match since 2021, teaming with Rocky Romero to defeat QT Marshall and Aaron Solo. In other results, Blake Christian beat AR Fox, Tony Storm defeated Rebecca Scott, Katsuyori Shibata and Tommy Billington went over the Premier Athletes, and Lee Johnson topped Serpentico. In WWE news, Netflix has announced some additional WWE content which is scheduled to hit the streaming platform in January along with Monday Night Raw. These additional shows include WWE Top 10, WWE Raw Classics, WWE Road to WrestleMania, WWE Superstar Profiles, and WWE Legends Profiles. And in some unfortunate news, Jeremy Lehman, known in the ring for most of his 15-year career as Jax Dane, passed away on Christmas Day from complications related to a heart attack he suffered in November, according to an official announcement made yesterday by the National Wrestling Alliance. Dane was a former NWA World Heavyweight Champion, having defeated Hiroshi Tenzan for the title in 2015 and holding it for nearly 14 months before losing it to Tim Storm. He was the second longest reigning NWA World Champion of the last 15 years, behind only Nick Aldis. Dane was also a two-time holder of the NWA National title, as well as an NWA North American Champion and co-holder of the NWA World Tag Team title with Rob Conway in 2013. In addition to his extensive time spent in NWA promotions and in various incarnations of the NWA, including the last 4 years with Billy Corgan's contemporary version of the organization, Dax also spent some time wrestling for Ring of Honor, Ohio Valley Wrestling, and TNA Wrestling, where he was known as Wilcox during a short stint in 2017. Said Corrigan in a statement, quote, "There are those men and women who carry the legacy of a champion because they have risen to such heights. And then there are those who earn the respect of a champion simply because of who they are. To this I can say, simply and personally, that Jax was such a man and will forever be in our hearts." End quote. Jeremy Lehman is survived by his wife Evelinda as well as his stepson and father. He was 48 years old. And before we leave you today, we'd like to remind you that however you consume your content, you can find the wrestling news 24 hours a day and 7 days a week across social media. On Twitter, follow us at Wrestling News AV. Our Facebook page is also Wrestling News AV. The Wrestling News can also be found on the Arcadian Vanguard YouTube page. And for those who utilize Amazon Echo devices, just tell Alexa to play the Wrestling News podcast. And remember to make sure you add podcast at the end. Once again, for daily updates, breaking news, and more, follow the Wrestling News across social media. And that's the news for today. If anything happens, we will be here to tell you about it. No clickbait, no paywall, just the wrestling news. The Wrestling News is a division of Arcadian Vanguard, and the Wrestling Newscast is a production of the Arcadian Vanguard Podcast Network.